Hey everyone, it's Dr. Lisa here, and today I'm thrilled to have Andy Schoonover, founder of CrowdHealth, joining me. And you've heard me mention this company before, an innovative community-based alternative to traditional health insurance that's really helping people take back control of their healthcare costs. And I myself got out of the scam health insurance matrix a couple years ago and joined into CrowdHealth, and I am thrilled with the cost savings and all that CrowdHealth has to offer. So thanks so much for joining in today, Andy.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to
Yeah, and
chat.
today we're going to tackle the most common questions because you and I spoke last year. I have a lot covered in that video, but today I want to go over like how it really works. What happens if
hmm
something big hits, and Crowd Health's exciting new program that rewards people who are proactively improving their health. You and I did a video last year which gives a lot of your backstory and why and how you got Crowd Health started. So I'll link below to that video. But today, let's just jump right into pressing questions that people have been asking me about Crowd Health. So here
Perfect.
we go. A lot of people hear about Crowd Health and think it sounds too good to be true.
Hmm.
No insurance cards, no networks, huge cost savings. I'm going to throw out some questions here and have you walk us through what actually happens when someone needs care. Like if someone goes to a doctor or hospital, how do they submit the bill? And for
hmm
everyday medical needs, office visits, labs, imaging, maybe a broken bone or a minor procedure, how does the community sharing process actually work in real life?
Sure. Yeah. So what we have is that you are committed to paying the first $500 of any health event. So a health event is a series of doctor visits, labs, imaging, surgeries, whatever it may be, that are all for the same condition. So let's just say, God forbid, you get cancer and you see the doctor 30 times and you have two surgeries and you have chemotherapy or you have whatever. Like that's all one health event. So you'll pay the first $500 of that, and then the rest of those bills are submitted to the community. And the way that we do that, let's just say there was a $10,000 procedure, so you're paying the first 500. We'll go to 95 people in the community and say, "Hey, will you help Dr. Lisa with $100 each?" Right? I think I did that math right. And so if they say yes, then $100 will go from their account to Dr. Lisa's account. At the end of the day, you'll have your 500 plus the 9,500 from the community, and you have $10,000 to then go and pay that doctor directly for your care. Now, um, the beauty of that is that the doctors no longer have to bill health insurance, and so they don't have all the administration, the bureaucracy, the wait times. Yeah, I saw a study 6 or 9 months ago where doctors spend 16 to 18 hours a week with the kind of administrative and bureaucracy components of billing health insurance. And so that's time that they can't spend with their patients, right? They're not generating revenue. And so therefore, if you can go and pay them directly, then they are willing to give you, much better prices. And what we have seen over 25,000 bills is that our members are getting about 50% better prices than the health insurance plans by paying directly. So we're so much less expensive because we're ripping out all that administration and bureaucracy of the billing process with health insurance. So that's, everybody says it's too good to be true, and I was like, well, you don't understand all the bureaucracy and administration that goes into healthcare currently, and we're ripping all that out and giving you the savings. So that's the beauty. And for small bills, so anything under $500, you'll just pay directly for. You'll give them your credit card. You'll say, "Hey, I'm a cash pay patient," and they'll give you a discount as a result of that. For any of these larger things that are greater than 500, again, you pay the first 500. We'll submit the rest to the community to pay. And so, if you have, for example, an ER visit, the hospital will send you the bills after the fact. You'll take the bill, you go to our app, you'll take a picture, and then we will consolidate those bills on the back end. We'll negotiate them for you so you don't have to negotiate with the hospital. We'll get them funded by the community so that you can then get the money to pay the hospital directly. So that's how that works. It's super easy. Like I said, we've done it 25,000 times. People find it takes about 30 seconds to upload a bill. It's a super easy process to get these big bills paid. But again, for the little stuff, You are, anything under $500, you're just paying out of pocket cash for those. And in essence, what, we know car insurance, right? We know that the oil changes and the wiper blades and the tires and things like that, those are your responsibility. You can't submit those to insurance. And as a result of which, those prices are much, much lower. I kind of joke, like, if a health insurance plan or a car insurance plan would have to pay for an oil change, your oil change would probably be $500, just because of all the administration and bureaucracy that goes into it. And so, but that's why we're getting so much better pricing, is you're able to pay directly. So we'll only ask you once a month to help somebody else out in the community. So it's not like we ask you for every single bill. If you're a member of the community, you'll be asked once a month to help somebody else out in the community. And the cool part of that is you'll know that you're helping somebody in Austin, Texas with a pregnancy or a cancer case or something, and your money is going directly to them, as opposed to going to a health insurance plan. You have no idea where that money is going. And so it's a really cool thing. I'm sure you get, a request every month, from us to say, hey, here's somebody that needs help in the community, and your money goes directly to them. So we don't touch it in between.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to that, just because I just happened to get that email that came through today, which just comes through as crowdfunding request. And just so that people kind of get an understanding, I used to pay at the time I was 58, and the bottom of the barrel insurance plan that I could get was almost $700. I think it was 690 a month was my premium for the bottom of the barrel $8,000 deductible
Yeah.
garbage insurance plan, right? So now, there's a $55 monthly admin fee, is kind of what I call it, that
Hmm.
everybody just pays.
That
And
comes to us. That comes to us to pay our bills.
right. And then on top of that, I would be responsible up to an additional $280 requested each month, up to that, capped at that. So this email that came through today for this month's contribution from me was for $178. And it specifically said a member in our community has pinched nerve and needs this minor surgical procedure, and we're requesting $178. I have mine on auto yes, so it doesn't even wait for a reply from me. Anytime the funding request comes, it automatically is done. And it's just a beautiful system, because it's not insurance, it's people helping people
Yeah.
with transparency, advocacy instead of bureaucracy. And it's
Yeah.
just so refreshingly different from like the typical scenario of getting declined by corporate health insurance for what they deem to be medically unnecessary procedures, or just going through all that.
Yeah. I mean, you were max of 280. We've only asked for that max 4 times in 4.5 years. And so, today you're asked for 178 of that 280, which means you get $100. I mean, you're saving $100 a month because the community is doing really well. So in our model, if the community does well, you benefit. In the insurance model, if the community does well, the insurance company gets the profit. And so it's a totally different situation. And we're trying to align incentives between our members and the corporation, because I think what's really messed up about healthcare is all the incentives are so perverse that it's you against the health insurance company, right? When you have a big issue, what happens? What do you say? Now I got to go fight the health insurance company to get this bill paid. Well, with Crowd Health, it's like we're fighting with you to get the bill paid, as opposed to fighting against you to get the bill paid. And it's just a much better alignment of incentives, and I think that's really, really important to make this healthcare system work. So yeah, it's super easy, and it's 280 if you're 55 or over. It's 140 if you're under 55, and if you have a family of 4 or more, it's 420. So those are the different kind of segments of ask. But we have a calculator on our website, so if anybody has any questions on what would it be for me, go to the bottom of our homepage. There's a little calculator there, and you can calculate what it would be for you.
Great. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. I'm so thrilled to. I mean, I think I calculated I've saved over $6,000 and still been in health, and still have peace of mind that Crowd Health is there for me if I need it. So that covers like the day-to-day care, but the big
Mhm.
question that so many people ask is, what if something major happens? Let's say someone needs surgery, gets in a car accident, or is diagnosed with something like cancer. Does Crowd Health really come through for those high cost events? That's the most common question I get.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Like when I first started the company, back in 2021, you kind of ask entrepreneurs what keeps you up at night. And those big events kept me up at night in 2021 because we didn't have the 15,000 people that we have today. We had a few hundred or a few thousand back in the day. And now when I see these things come through, I'm like actually excited that we can help somebody in the time of need, because I know that the community does, incredibly well at getting these bills paid. And we had a guy last week who we funded to go to MD Anderson because he's got stage 4 melanoma. And he wanted to go to the best hospital in the country for cancer, and so he wanted to go to MD Anderson, and the crowd funded that. And so we've had, I think, about 3 dozen cancer cases now, plus or minus, and these are colon, breast cancer, stage 4 melanoma. We've had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We've had all kinds of things, in addition to the really expensive ones are the NICU babies. We've had the number one cost of the community historically have been babies, and active injuries are the second to that. So, you know, I was worried about it 4 years ago. I'm not worried about it at all today, and actually, I look forward to it because we can, help these people in their time of need get, really really amazing care. So, we have actually a Crowd Health employee who's battling cancer right now and is on Crowd Health, and she feels very confident that the community is going to come through for her, in her time of need, and they have 100%, to date. So I'm very, very comfortable. You see all these big companies, right, that have 2,000 or 3,000 employees who are on your typical insurance, and they're self-insured. They're self-insured with 2 or 3,000 people. We have 15,000 people, all of which, or most of which, are really, really healthy people. And so I'm very confident that these bills will get paid. And so far, over 25,000 bills. Every one of those big events has gotten fully funded without a problem.
Yeah, and that's huge because like I said, that's I think really the number one fear people have is that it'll work for the small stuff, but not when life really hits.
Yeah.
And, it's really reassuring to know that.
Well, the other
Uh,
thing too, real quick, is our
yeah,
model is set up so that if we have, a bunch of big events happen at once, and then we just scale up your ask. So as we just talked about, your ask a month was $178, I think you said,
yeah.
but your max is 280. And so, we can scale up to that 280 if we need to, if there's a bunch of big events going on in the community. And then if one of those big events gets, once those get paid, then we can come back down to a level of, around where we're at now. And so, over the last year, I think we've been averaging, somewhere around like $85 for a single person, $170 for people over 55, and then 250, or if that's the right math, something like that, or 255 for families on the ask. But we can go way higher than that, and we will if these big bills come in. So just the way that we're structured allows you to kind of go up and go down depending upon the size of the needs in the community that month. So and we went up a little bit this month. I think yours last month was probably 160 or something like that, and went to 180. And this is just end of the year stuff. Like inevitably towards the end of the year, we have a little bit higher community cost, but we can scale up and down depending upon how many bills we have in the community. So we have a ton of capacity to be able to fund these bills that we're not even currently pulling at right now. So the model makes it very easy to get some of these big bills paid. I would say the other thing too is we negotiate on your behalf. And so, for some of these big bills, we had a guy who accidentally shot himself. He was in Montana, doing fishing, and he was in bear country. So he had a 44 in his holster. He caught a fish. He leaned down. The gun fell out of his holster. It hit a rock. It went off. The bullet went, into his calf, out the back of his calf, into his thigh, out the top of his thigh, into his chest, and out the back. So it was one bullet, 6 holes. He had to get medevaced out from this stream that he was fishing in, and it was almost $1 million bill. He went into a coma. He went into sepsis, and so we were able to negotiate that $1 million bill to somewhere between 200 and 250,000. And so we take an active approach on negotiating these really big bills for you. We had another woman who had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I think it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, where her monthly med was $40,000. We negotiated with the pharma directly, got all the middlemen out, and it ended up being $2,500 a month. And so people just don't realize the fact that all these middlemen are taking pieces of the action along the way, inflating these bills to astronomical levels. And if you could rip that out, then you're going to get way better prices. And so when you're paying for health insurance, you're paying for all these middlemen who are taking cuts, and it's just so much less expensive if you pay directly.
Yeah, I think the whole billing thing is a little daunting. And, what I'm hearing you say is you have a team of people that handles that because honestly, I wouldn't know the first thing. So prior to Crowd Health and all this, the one time I actually did use my insurance was about 6 years ago. I had a rotator cuff tear and I had AmeriHealth insurance at the time, and I just kind of went through the system. But I'm
Hmm.
thinking if I had Crowd Health and I have a tear in my other shoulder, so it might be coming up down the road. But do I contact you first and then you are in direct contact with the surgeon I've chosen? I think these are like the little details that
Yeah, sure. That's a good
people
question.
really kind of get confused about.
Well, here, the cool thing about Crowd Health is that when you sign up, you get a care advocate internally. So you have one person you can talk to. And it's not this call center where you're talking to a different person every time. You have to retell the story and all these kinds of things. Like I hated that about health insurance. And I had a really bad experience with health insurance, and it was the reason. And we talked about it on the previous conversation, but it was the reason why I did this. Is like I hated talking to big call centers who are so impersonal. And so we give you your personal care advocate internally. So if you have any questions around this, then you just call your care advocate and say, "Hey, Kelly or Alexis or whoever, here's what's going on with me." And they're like, "Great, well, let's help you. And if you have a doctor you really love, then we'll call the doctor and negotiate a price for you, a cash pay price. If you don't know who to go to, then we more than likely have a really awesome doctor in your area who can take care of it. And we know we'll give you a fair price. And so let's work with you directly to find you a really great doctor at a really great price." And so we can have that conversation directly with you. You just have to, you can call them, you can text them, you can email them, whatever way you're more comfortable with. A lot of people just like texting their care advocate, and that's the best way for them to operate. And so, yeah, you're going to, unless you have a really big issue where we can bring some other teammates along, you're going to talk to the same person every single time. You get to know them, they get to know you. They're responsible and are held accountable to getting your condition taken care of. And so it's a really nice feature, I think, that you're not kind of lost in this complex series of healthcare decisions. You've got a care advocate who will walk alongside you to help you through that.
So let's just take a scenario. If I have something that is less than $500 and I'm just going to be a self pay, and of course I take care of it, but how, because a lot of us don't know how to contact that doctor, or you're standing there at the checkout desk and what words do you say? I'm self-pay. What is your cash price, please? It almost seems like we're playing let's make a deal here. Like, is that actually how it happens? And would my self-care advocate help me out in maybe something that is even under $500 in how to negotiate it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends upon like what the situation is, but if you're just going to, your primary care visit or whatever, you just go and when you check out, you're like, "Yeah, I'm cash pay," and they was like, "Okay, well, here's the cash pay rate," because every doctor's got a cash pay rate. You hand them
Okay.
your credit card, and that's it. It's super easy. You just say cash pay. You're not negotiating or wheeling and dealing or anything like that. You're just saying I'm cash pay rate, and typically they give you, a cash pay discount as a result of paying them directly because they love cash pay patients. If they can get a credit card from you and get paid right now versus to have to go through all the rigmarole of billing health insurance, they love it. And we had one week last year, we had 50 doctors reach out to us being like, "Hey, we please send more patients our way because we love cash pay patients. um, and so it's really not intimidating. It's they're super great about it, and we've not had any problems with our members, asking for the cash pay rate. If there are other procedures like, you got to go get imaging or something like that, which may be under $500. So, for example, on X, just 2 weeks ago, this lady was saying, "Yeah, it's great. I try to go get my mammogram, and regardless of what you think about mammograms, I'm not here to debate that. But like, she wanted to go get a mammogram, and it was declined by her health insurance company at first, and I think they ultimately paid $2,000 for this mammogram. And we're like, look, there's the cash pay rate for your mammogram in your area is $187.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the difference between, what United Healthcare pays for these things and what you should be paying for these things with cash. And so, if we actually have like a little virtual care advocate we talk about in our app that you can ask, like, hey, I need to see a OBGYN in Tampa, Florida. Do you have anybody? And we will list all the OBGYNs in Tampa, Florida, their prices. And so you can go and choose, who you want to go to in
And,
Tampa or Des Moines,
and that
Iowa,
would
or
be their
wherever.
that would be their self-pay pricing.
That would be their self-pay price. Yeah. Yeah. And so, what we're doing is basically aggregating all these bills. So if you're in Tampa, Florida, and you've gone to a primary care doc and you upload that bill, now we know that primary care doc will charge that amount of money for a direct pay patient or cash pay patient. We then get that information to everybody else in Tampa, Florida, so that they know what this person's gonna, this doctor's gonna charge. And so, it's kind of this almost like a crowd-funded group or crowdsourced doctor group.
Right.
Starting next quarter, we're going to allow you to actually now rate that doctor. So you'll see other Crowd Health members who've had doctor visits and how they rate that doctor and the cash pay price all in one place, so that you can make an informed decision as to who you want to go to. And like I said, Tampa or Des Moines or San Antonio or wherever you live.
Wow, that's great. You know what? Let's throw in here. I have been aware of through the months, every so often, Crowd Health puts out like a monthly special, whether it's a DEXA scan
Mhm.
or so. Can you go through a little bit of that? Because I think that's really a great plus of the company too.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately my vision for the company, and the more my vision for our members, is I kind of make the joke. I was like, I want you to be 80 years old playing, soccer in the backyard with your grandkids. Like, that to me is thriving. And so, like, what do we need to give our members access to so that they can thrive in their 80s? And health insurance plans aren't paying attention to this because you will not be with the health insurance company next year, probably. Most likely not the following year after that. So they have no incentive to see you live longer, and healthier. And in fact, they make more money when you're sick. And so we do a quarterly special, which basically helps people understand what's going on with their body. We've chosen the ones we think are most important. So I think, we did a DEXA scan. I think that was the first quarter. We did coronary artery calcium score, which is just how much plaque you have in your arteries. We did a gut health test one quarter. And then this quarter, you can get DEXA scan, you can get a fasting insulin reading, and you can get a high sensitivity C-reactive protein measurement. And all of those are funded 100%. So there's no 500 limit on that one. We do have some limits on what you can get submit for. I think it's $100 for the DEXA scan, and then $25 for the C-reactive protein, and $25 for the insulin, which you should definitely be able to find it for under that. So that's all submittable to the community and fully eligible for funding. And so, yeah, ultimately what we're trying to do is educate people on what's important with their health. And you kind of, as opposed to what your doctor is probably telling you when you walk into the primary care physician, we're really trying to get people access to stuff that can make a difference, can make a change.
So awesome. And so that's a perfect segue now into the next topic I wanted to bring up is your longevity program, which
Yeah.
really rewards people who are proactive about their health. And so awesome how timely that the DEXA scan, the high HSCRP, and the fasting insulin is your quarterly special now, because if you could, can you tell everyone what it is and who qualifies for the longevity program? And
Yeah. So ultimately, we want to give people who are metabolically healthy a benefit for that. Again, I think incentives or anything, everything. And so, if you are an HSCRP under, I think it's under one,
Under one, yep.
under one. If you're fasting insulin under 5, or if you're in kind of the bottom quartile for the amount of visceral fat that you have, as indicated by your DEXA scan, then if you are eligible for, if you get one of those, then you get 10% off. If you get two of those, you get 20% off of your monthly ask. And so you can save up to 20% if you are, metabolically healthy and can kind of fulfill one or two of those three different tests. So we ask everybody to do it between kind of now and the end of January to get that benefit for 2026. And so that's why we made it our kind of our quarterly specials. We want as many people to go out and get these tests as possible. So, and even if you don't, hit it, like, it gives you really good benchmark to say, okay, well, maybe I'm at a 6 or a 7 fasting insulin. What do I need to get to under 5? Because we think that to be really metabolically healthy, under 5 is where you need to be. I know other people, disagree with that, but I think, ultimately you need to be under 5. And so that's why we're kind of shooting for under 5. So it gives you at least a little bit of a kind of a benchmark to think about, and like, how do I make changes in my lifestyle over the next year to be able to get it for the following year. So we think it's a really important part of what we're doing is more of the preventative side than and not just preventative, like go to a primary care doc, because most people think like that's preventative. It's like, no, like, you should have the data about your body so that you can make changes that you can improve. If you don't have the data, you're not going to change it. So we're trying to give people that data.
So ultimately, you're rewarding people who actually live a healthy lifestyle. And that's the kind
Correct.
of incentive model that we really need. And if
Hmm.
someone doesn't qualify yet, and can they retest and move into the longevity tier later once their numbers improve? Like, how is it is it a rolling entry? As soon as they can produce the test results, they can switch into that tier?
Yeah, it ends at the end of January, and then it starts back up again in October. So, if you get something today and you can make some changes by the end of January, which oftentimes you can, then you have to wait until the following October. So it's kind of just
So
for
there's sort
ease
of an
of
open enrollment period for this.
for the longevity
For the
program. There's a little
longevity
bit of
program.
an open
Yeah,
enrollment period for longevity. And we just operationally, it was going to be really, really difficult for us to make it kind of
yeah.
a rolling thing. So we just was like, okay, we'll give people 4 months of the year to do it, and if they don't make it, they got a little bit of time to try it the next time. But and some of these things take a while to really impact. So we think it's going to be a good system. We'll see. This is our first year doing it, so we'll see what we learn, and I'm sure we'll make some adjustments next year.
Yeah, and that's perfect. It gives people a goal to work toward. Lower your insulin, lower your visceral fat, and literally get rewarded financially for it.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Andy, the big thing. Let's clarify
Mhm.
who actually qualifies for Crowd
Yeah.
Health, because I know there's some restrictions. For example, this makes me cringe. You can't currently be over the age of 65 to join, right? And can you explain why that cutoff exists and whether there's any chance, please, that could change in the future?
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
also,
think yeah.
I was going to say,
Sorry.
just besides the age factor, who else does not qualify, or what other health conditions might make somebody ineligible?
Yeah. So if you're over 260 pounds, if you're a male, or over 240, if you're a female, you're not eligible. If you're a smoker, you're not eligible. And if you're over 65, you're not eligible. The smoker and the weight limits, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. We want, people who take care of themselves to be, in the crowd. If you are 6'10" and you're, 260 or something like that, we will make some adjustments for height. So if for some reason you log in and they won't let you sign up, just email us and we'll make exceptions if you're super, super tall. For the Medicare, there's kind of two issues. One is, you can't pay cash if you're of Medicare age for most doctors. They will not accept cash if you're over the age of 65. And if there's a law that says if you are Medicare, if you're in Medicare, you can't pay cash for Medicare eligible services. That's just a federal law. And so even if you're not enrolled in Medicare, what doctors have done to make sure that they comply with that law is they just won't accept cash for people over the age of 65. The
Mhm.
other challenge we have is you've been paying into Medicare for, decades, so have I, right? And so, that money then is supposed to go towards, your healthcare when you're over 65. And so, and that's clearly when a lot of these, very large conditions, or we see these large, conditions, is a primary 65 and older kind of group. And so, it would be really hard for us to do like a pure crowd health without having, Medicare on top of it. We are looking hard at saying, hey, people enroll in Medicare. You can place crowd health on top of it so that anything Medicare doesn't pay for, will be eligible for funding with the crowd. We tried to do it for 2026. We had too many other things going on. So we're going to try again for 2027. So it may not be a pure crowd health play, but it will be, a lot better than just going and getting Medicare and then getting a supplemental plan and all this kind of other stuff. So we're trying to get that rolling for the following year. Maybe it even comes in 2026. We'll have to see kind of how the pipeline develops. But if you are over 65 and you're listening to this and you're interested in that product, I mean, one of the things that's our main decision driver here is, can we get enough people enrolled in this to make it, worthwhile? And so please reach out to us. Hey, at HEY, like, hey, at joincrowdhealth.com, and let us know that you're over 65 and you really would love an over 65 product. That would help us immensely figure out whether this is something that we can viably do. Oh, and then the other conditions, a pre-symptomatic or diagnosed condition. So, if you put it into an insurance language, which I think people understand is a pre-existing. If you have pre-existing conditions, then, we want you to be a part of the community before you submit bills for that. Like, you have to be a part of the community. You can't just come in, drop a big bill in the community and then leave. That just wouldn't be fair. And so you own your pre-existing conditions for the first couple of years, and then you can submit bills to the community after that. With that said, we have a lot of people who have come in we've got a bunch of type 1 diabetics who have found that they can get their insulin and their supplies for cheaper if they pay directly, and they don't have to go through this big high deductible plan, knowing that Crowd Health won't help with that, but we will find them, really, less expensive insulin and less expensive supplies and things like that. So we do have people with, some pretty serious pre-existing conditions who have joined us and just like, man, I'm saving so much and I don't have this huge deductible. Because if I was with a health insurance plan, I'd have to pay $8,000 or $10,000 with my deductible anyway before joining. So if I can just do it cheaper, then I'm just going to join Crowd Health. So we do not eliminate them from being able to join, but there is some exclusions on conditions that you have prior to joining Crowd Health.
I also want to talk about your Black Swan program, because I think a lot
Sure.
of people haven't heard of this yet. And it was something that I was seeking out back when I
Mhm.
was forced to get health insurance. I was looking for catastrophic because I don't go to the doctor. And I found out that you have to be like 35 years old to be eligible for catastrophic health insurance, which is kind of crazy. So I was not able to do anything like that. But explain what this Black Swan program is.
Yeah, so our Black Swan product, I think, is pretty cool. And it was a product that's built for, people like you who are looking. If you are under 55, it's $85 a month. I think if you're over 55, it is, let me do the math. I think it's like $110 a month or something like that. And instead of that $500 initial commitment, it's $15,000 initial commitment. So basically, meaning like you pay for the first $15,000 of any health event. But if you have something really, really big like cancer, then the community will help you out in the case of something really, really big. So, if you're under 55, it's $85. It's about what you're paying for your cell phone, right? And we think that has been well signed up for over the last year, that product, because I think people are looking for something that is, inexpensive and only will help them out in the case of something really big happen. That means all the
So,
small bills you fully pay. You can't submit those to the community. Anything under $15,000.
and then what happens as far as the ask for contributing to the community when you're in that program?
Yeah, it's $85 total.
A
So it's
maximum.
a maximum. So it's actually 60 to us to pay the bills, and it's 25 into the community. So it's a total of 85. Now our site says 95, but it's changing to 85 in 2026. So the price is actually going down in 2026. And so it's $85 a month max for that program.
So it's still the $55, what I just call admin fee, the CrowdHealth fee, the monthly fee, and then up to, for me, I'm 60, but so up to 110 ask per month being in that program.
Yeah, it's 110 or 115 or something like that.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you'd be all in 115. So it'd be 60, or we're changing to 60 in 2026. So it'd be 60 plus 50, 110. It'd be $110 a month for you all in, which includes my administrative fee and what you help the community with. There are no other fees. You got to pay like a credit card processing, but other than that, there's no other fees associated with this. That's all you'll be asked for during the month.
Okay. So, and finally, let's cover how simple it is actually to get started, that there's no open enrollment window and people can really join and cancel anytime. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can start, you can end whenever you want. So there's no open enrollment. Like it's great because I think a lot of people right now are like battling health insurance plans and open enrollment. Like for Crowd Health, you can just sign up and you don't have to worry about it again, which is awesome. And it takes, if you've read the member guide, and it takes like 5 minutes to sign up. Somebody told me the other day they signed up in 2 minutes. If you have a family, it might take a little bit longer than that because you just have to put in their names and things like that. But it's really kind of if you've read the member guide, a 5 to 10 minute thing. The member guide, if you want to read all of it, it's probably a 5 to 10 minute read. So you're all in less than a half an hour to get signed up. So
Yeah,
it's
I
super easy to get signed
I
up.
can I can vouch for that. It literally took me about 15 minutes, so
Yeah.
it was really awesome. And
And
there's
we're not asking for your income. We're not asking for your, those types of things. We're not asking for your medical history. It's literally you're just putting in your address and your email address and those types of things, like things we need to operate. So we're not asking for anything invasive.
Yeah. And then on top of how simple it is, you offer a special for sign up. And if you use Carnivore Doctor code, they'll get their first 3 months for
Uh-huh.
$99. Is that still
Yep.
applicable? Yep. And it's
Yep.
a great way to try it out. It's like I said, I can't say enough about it. And I'll put the link below. Andy, thank you so much for walking us through this today and answering all these
Sure.
questions. And I know this will help so many people feel confident stepping away from that traditional insurance treadmill that I call it and towards something that actually makes sense. And check out the link below, guys, and feel free to reach out with any questions you have, either to myself or Crowd Health. And as always, stay empowered, stay proactive, and I'll see you in the next video.